So in order to do the Blinky program, I'm going to do two things. One, I'm going to just show you the example code, and that's by far the easiest. And you can just push literally one button and have it all done for you. And then I'm going to show you how to upload that. And then I'm going to come back and we're actually going to write that code. But if you want, you can skip that part of the video if you're not that interested in writing code. So in order to load the Blinky script up, if you go up to File and under Examples, yours may look a little bit different because I have some more boards. But this very, very first one that says 0 Basics, and then here's one called Blink. And if we click that, it's going to load up a sketch, and Arduino calls their code sketches. And it's going to look like this. I previously had mine open, so it just brought this one to the foreground. This is going to be the Blinky sketch, and this is going to turn our LED on and off. This first section in between this piece of code and this piece of code are just comments. You can read it if you want. And then these are all, with the slashes, are all comments as well. But you'll see here's that startup that we talked about. Here's where it's going to tell us to use this says built-in pin, but it's also the same as the pin 13. We talked about that on a previous video. We're going to have that be the output. And then here's that loop where we're going to turn the built-in LED, i.e. 13, high. We're going to wait 1,000 milliseconds or 1 second, and then we're going to turn it low. We're going to wait another 1,000 milliseconds, and then we're going to loop forever. Now with that, let's go ahead and head over to the bench and wire up this circuit. Okay, I'm not going to cover this because we've covered this a handful of times already, and by now I'm assuming you're pretty good about wiring up very simple circuits. So we've got our Arduino, I've got my power on, which is bad, but that's okay. I coded this up earlier. Just for the sake of argument, I will unplug it. I've got my ground plugged into my ground. I've got one LED with my long pin on the left, which is my positive, a short pin on the right, and then I've got my resistor going into that same ground. And this yellow wire is going into pin 13. Pin 13 is also the onboard LED, which we talked about in a previous video. So that's the wiring of that. So make sure you get that wired up correctly. Once you've got that wired up correctly, you can go ahead and plug your Arduino in. It's unclear, just depending on what you last were doing with your Arduino. This may light up, it may not. Mine, I had a completely different sketch in and I wasn't using this pin, so mine is not lighting up. All right, let's head back and upload that code. Okay, now that we've got that on the breadboard, let's go ahead and click this upload button and let's hope for no errors. Now this, depending on your computer, might take 30 seconds to a minute. Mine's going to be super, super fast. And you can see right there, it said uploading and then it said done uploading. And if we head over to the workbench, we can see that it is now blinking just fine. Now you might have noticed also that the LED was flashing, or the TX/RX were flashing really fast while it was uploading the code, very similar to what it did in PictoBlocks. So now if we want to do something like we want to have a very short on time, like a 1,000th or 100 milliseconds or 0.1 second, and we want to have an off of half a second, we can go ahead and change those. We can hit the upload button and we'll see that come back on here after it's done uploading, and it's going to blink really, really quickly, just like we saw within PictoBlocks. So that's how we're going to write some C++ code as part of our Arduino. Now, if you want, you can skip the next part of the video. The next part of the video, I'm going to write that code from scratch, just so that if you're interested in following along, you'll understand how that works.